Good evening. This is a meeting of the Warren City School District Board, a regular meeting, February 22nd, 2022, and it's precisely 6 p.m. It's being held in the Warren G. Harding High School auditorium with live stream available at warrencityschools.org. This meeting of the Warren City Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is for public participation during the meeting as indicated in agenda item number 11. Would the treasurer please call the roll?
Mrs. Doe.
Here.
Mrs. Lamperos. Here. Mrs. Patterson.
Mrs. Pat is absent with leave.
Mr. Walker.
Present.
And Mr. Fowler.
There's no reason this evening for an executive session. Communications.
Thank you. The first thing that I have this evening on communications is that we have been the recipient of a that has allowed us to purchase school buses. There's $50 in awards that were set aside in the state of Ohio to replace older buses, and this was the Ohio Department of Transportation. The Warren City School District received $234,090. That will not cover the cost of the 3 buses, but we are grateful for the amount that will support us in getting 3 additional buses on the road. For the last 7 years, we have made great effort to improve our bus fleet. Time was failing and aging to provide the safest and the best transportation for our students in and around and throughout the community. So Mr. Lacey has already been advised this and is working on this in addition to the bus purchase that we have for this fall, the bus bid through OSC in the spring, that I'm confident that he'll be working on Transportation Department as well as with the Office of the Treasurer. So thank you, Mr. Lacey, for getting this grant application. I'm sure the taxpayers in the city of Warren are grateful for the near $1 million that was brought forth. My second comment this evening was that Young's Run course out there in a disc location, and they grant to replace their disc golf baskets and other equipment, and that was from the Disc Golf Association. Lucky for us, we get their 18 baskets. That we create a 9-hole disc golf course at one of the K through 8 schools, and that would allow for a shorter 3 baskets at our other remaining schools. Now, some of our schools are more landlocked than others. 9-hole disc golf course wouldn't fit at all of our buildings, so this works out nicely for us. So we are looking to begin discussing this as spring becomes, and for next school year, our students should have the opportunity to participate in disc golf some capacity at all of our buildings. So, John, again, I know you're working from there over the last couple of months. We did receive that as a donation. I believe our folks in the maintenance department will do the installation for that as well. Other good news there. My third communication this evening, congratulations that goes out, and Mr. Joseph is here from McGuffey, to the McGuffey Phonics team that once again has advanced to the state championship for the 2nd year in a row under the direction of their advisor, Amanda Colbert. The kids will become Sunday, March 6th. This competition is going to take place in Dayton. And at this time, it may be virtual, but that may change based upon relations between now and then, as we're very familiar with our ability to pivot. So congratulations to Mrs. Colbert and all the students at McGuffey that participate in phonics competition. I do want to say that I believe that they will be some funds, the Warren City Schools Fund, to support their request. They also, as we're branding our billboards across the city, on Sunday morning, the picture of the kids and feature them on the billboard off of Parkman, closest to your building. And why Sunday morning would they have a picture? Because at this time, WFMJ Today is going to be broadcasting with the kids in the from McGuffey School in the 7 o'clock hour on Sunday. So congratulations to all the kids that participate in the Titanics. My last communication this evening is save the date for Board of Education members that are interested. We will put this out more formally. The Inspiring Minds Gala will take place at the Kent State Trumbull campus Thursday, May 19th. More information will be forthcoming, but if you're interested in joining me in celebrating our kids and this wonderful program, it'll be Thursday Eve State Trumbull for this year. That concludes my communications.
Thank you very much. And if we could now pivot and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would the treasurer please call the
Mrs. Lamperos,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes.
and Mr. Fowley.
Yes. Item 6, Treasurer's Report. Mrs. Cortino,
I don't have anything for you this evening.
which is all you.
Yes.
Thank you. Superintendent's Report.
I think so.
The purpose of the superintendent's report for this month is to do an introduction of the campus leaders across our 5 schools. Last month, I took the time to introduce and reintroduce our executive directors across the different departments in the district. This was to enable have a name, a face, a department. In this case, a building for which is across the Warren City schools. So I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce the leaders from our 4 pre-K through 8 buildings, as well as Warren G. Harding High School. First, I'd like to introduce Jim Joseph, Montgomery principal and campus leader. Jim is a graduate of Champion in Youngstown State University, where he received his bachelor's degree in education. This is Jim's 6th year in the Warren City School District, serving 3 as a supervisor improvement in the Office of Curriculum Instruction, and 3 years as the 6th grade principal at McGuffey Pre-K through 8 School and campus leader. Marks Jim's 17th year in education. He started his career as a moderate special education teacher at Adams Alternative School in Youngstown, and he was there for 3 years. Jim was a high school social studies teacher at Rivergate High School in Youngstown and in Warren, and for 3 years, becoming the assistant high school principal at Rivergate for the next 5 years here in Warren, before making the decision to come to the Warren City Schools. In his current position, Jim is responsible for the day-to-day operations of McGuffey Preschool, ensuring the needs of our students and our staff members are met, creating a positive environment and providing academic leadership for all staff, as well as communicating with families, students, staff, and community stakeholders. Joseph. Second, I would like to introduce Holder Willard to principal campus leader. Now I'm going to get to it, but it is a challenge to pre-K through 2 campus leader because you served as a 6A principal for so many years. Carly is a 1995 graduate from Austintown Fitch and started her teaching career at St. Joseph School in Austintown in 2000. She was a 7th grade reading and science teacher. In 2000, she worked in Youngstown City at Eagle Heights Academy as a 7th grader And then, in 2009, she became the Dean of Students. Carly came to the Warren City School District in August of 2011, served as the 6th grade principal at Willard Pre-K through 8 school until this year. After a decade of experience at Willard, she accepted the challenge to be the Pre-K through 2 principal leader after the retirement of her colleague and mentor. This is the 11th year in the Warren City School District and 22 years as an educator. Mrs. Poulter. Joshua Guthrie, Lincoln 6th grade principal and leader. Josh has been in education for 10 years. All have been in the Warren City School District. Josh completed his student teaching in a classroom at McGuffey Pre-K through 8 school in the spring of 2012 and was as a full-time teacher that summer. I need to pause. I refused at that time. Seriously. Do you remember that? It took like 7 years for him to get over that. Okay. He spent 4 years as a 4th and 5th grade teacher at Willard Pre-K through 8 school. In the last half of his 4th year he changed roles to a teacher on special assignment at Jefferson, McGuffey, and Willard schools, fill in and support mid-year administrative vacancies that occurred at that time. Following this experience, Josh was hired as the 6A principal at Jefferson at 3 years. Josh was then moved to be the 6A principal at Lincoln the last 3 years, including this year, additionally, as campus leader. Guthrie. Sandra Williams, Warren G. Harding High School and campus leader. Sandra is a graduate of Camp Memorial High School. This is Ms. Williams' first year as the lead principal at Warren G. Harding High School and her 25th year as an educator. Previous to coming to Warren City Schools, she was the Howland Local Schools 5 years and the head principal at Howland High School and Howland Intermediate School. Prior to this, Sandra was the assistant principal at Warren G. Harding High School for 1 year. And it was hard to see you go. I remember the station like it was yesterday. Coming to Warren from County Educational Service Center, where she worked as curriculum instruction consultant years, she then began her educational journey at Austintown Fitch High School. We got 2 Falcons in the room, and as a studies teacher. In her spare time, Sandra is a licensed funeral home director and embalmer. Sandra Williams. Last but not least, and definitely the longest of the 5 bio, is Carrie Boyer, Jefferson Pre-K through 2 and campus leader. Carrie was and raised in Youngstown, Ohio. She attended the Youngstown City School, graduating from Woodrow Wilson High School in 1993, before attending West College, where she earned a degree in elementary education. Ms. began her education career in Prince George's County, Maryland, teaching 4th grade. She then returned home to Youngstown to teach in the Youngstown City School, where she taught 5th and 6th grade math and science. After 5-year position, Carrie found her calling and educational love teaching 1st grade. This launched her passion for literacy in early childhood education. 2 years into teaching 1st grade, she was trained at the Ohio State University K through literacy coach, literacy collaborative. Her passion for supporters through professional development and instructional coaching led her to attain a master's degree in educational leadership. 14 years ago, an opportunity presented itself to the Warren City Schools as a K through 2 principal. Her time as a building administrator, Ms. Boyer has served as the K through 2 principal at Jefferson and McGuffey Schools. She is currently the campus leader and pre-K2 principal for Jefferson Pre-K through 8 school. During her time in the Warren City Schools, she's had the opportunity of CAYL, C-A-Y-L, Fellowship. It's been too many years to remember that acronym. And present in a webinar to early childhood that attend a she attended a CASTLE conference in Atlanta. We all here with CASTLE in our work in social emotional learning. And her current position, Mrs. Blair, for creating and nurturing for all students and staff an effective and teaching to continue progress. Carrie is currently pushing staff and students to read cultural literature in classrooms, so students have a mirrored experience while reading instead of a window experience. Forward to continuing to accelerate learning for all students that attend Jefferson Pre School, also known as the J. Carrie Boyer. So this is our administrative leaders that we entrust to lead our buildings. Our campus leader's role is slightly different of the pod principal. Our campus leaders, in addition to responsible for the overall general oversight of the building, is responsible for the building budget, payroll, and decisions related to the facility. They also have the courage to evaluate their pod principal colleagues, also having a position in supervisors in curriculum and special education who are evaluated by Jen, but they also bring in a building-specific position for that. Is there any questions this evening?
Just thank you for having them come.
As you can see, I'm sure between last year and in this year, we have built a very strong administrative capacity. We do have 3 individuals that are new to the campus leader position this year, so we have undergone a change, which has been very smooth because of their time and dedication experience within the district. Very proud and confident of each of them in the work that they've been doing.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Shiro.
Thank you.
And sure the information to hear as well is that concludes the superintendent's report for this evening.
We are always grateful. Committee reports. Athletic, Mr. Walker and Mrs. Lamperos.
Mr. Nicholson,
Mr. Nicholson.
give me your notes.
All right, as you know, we're concluding our winter. We've had some great successes this winter. I'm going to name some of our students that qualified for some upper level sectionals and districts. Isaac Wimmer went to districts. Haley Meisel qualified as an individual in bowling. Doesn't qualify. You still have the ability to qualify for state by visual bowlers. So congratulations to Haley. Indoor track, we had 3 Warren G. Harding students over the weekend qualify for state. In the triple double, Jones, Savannah Shipman, Nevaeh Parisi. Our boys basketball team is hosting a regional basketball game against Oak. Also, we had some All-A awards awarded this weekend at their meetings. Braylon Schuler from Michaela Powell for girls basketball, and Duncan Moy, Tyreek Ivory, and Jacobs for boys basketball. So, successful winter season. It's almost done. Break for the spring that's coming up. Also, the Athletic Council meeting is this Thursday, the 24th at 5:15 p.m. in the athletic office.
Thank you.
The game will be live streamed tomorrow if you're interested. Okay?
Very good, thank you.
Financial advisory. Mrs. Doherty.
Nothing to report.
I had a rather lengthy conversation with the board meeting regarding the process of revision, been extensively covered in the local newspaper, to whom we say thank you, was able to answer questions and be a document forthcoming on this for all the board members when she heard. But this is something that overlaps between finance and legal legislation because the General Assembly is changing the rules at this time. But it is something the school board needs to be aware of. Board policies and guidelines.
Nothing to report.
I
Okay.
have one comment. I did talk to Roby today, and she's going to send dates for our in-person meeting as early as April. And so once I receive those dates, I will send them to Mrs. Patterson, Mrs. Doherty, and we will communicate that out further for our meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shaw. Mrs. Patterson isn't here, so there will be no report. Business.
Yes, Mr. Shiro, this is COVID and looking towards the future. We've recently seen a drop of COVID cases, and with that, more schools in the area are from mask required to mask recommended. Could you update the board on statistics in the district and give information how those numbers correlate to the standing board policy?
Okay, thank you. I can discuss it in grave. I'll try to be brief, but as much information as you want, I'll be able to share. Currently have a Board of Education policy 8450.01, protective facial kind pandemic and epidemic times. And what the board policy essentially does is puts into the duty of the superintendent during times of elevated communicable disease, community spread, which we are currently under. The superintendent is able to initiate a mask mandate, which is outlined within that Board of Education. I have never made as a decision of mine. I have always followed that of the local health. Local health officials, the Trumbull County superintendents meet with the county health department weekly when the pandemic is really raging and elevated every other week. Also on that call with me is Mrs. Hartzell and Mr. Capers in the capacities for the Warren City Schools. And so the Trumbull County Health Department lead in the Warren City Health Department is also participating in the call with us, though reporting agency is only the Warren City Health Department and not the Trumbull County Health Department. I've been watching the numbers very closely, and there has been a great reduction in the cases of Warren City Schools, both with students and with staff. It was as high, the highest we had was a few days after the first of the year in June. And then we've seen a reduction ever since then, which was predictable. In my conversations with the health officials in the last 12 hours, I've been advised that the Warren City Health Department holds the position that masking is still the optimal way for the health and well-being of the student body staff. They note that they have only administered the Warren City Health Hospital over 250 kids vaccinations between the ages of 5 and 6 years of age. We take on the position in the district. It takes a multi-pronged approach, which includes masking and which includes direct vaccination. Again, that's an individual decision for a parent and their child and their ped or whoever their healthcare provider is. And we also believe that social distancing, sanitizing are critical in our decision making. Further, advised to not adjust the mask mandate at this time to optional, of the state average remaining high. The state average is currently 255.8 cases per 100,000, which is 2.5 times rate of high transmissibility. And the county last rate was at 166.7, which is 1 times the rate for high transmission. I know that there's been a number of districts which have made adjustments to their mask mandate. The most notable and largest was, I believe, the end of last week and over the weekend. I printed off the report that I got today from Trumbull County Schools. We still have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 public schools and 2 other entities that are still requiring mask students, which accounts for approximately 50% of the students in Trumbull County this time. And I didn't run each school district and their population. So though we are looking, there is a time where we could go national. It recommended from the health department at this time that their decision would be guided by the CDC, rumored to make further adjustments to current masking guidance. After the CDC makes such an adjustment, if they would, then the Ohio Department of Health would look to adopt it. Local health officials would respond to the Ohio Department of Health. So that is kind of guiding our decision to not change, but to continue to monitor it closely with our numbers. We do anticipate the number to continue to drop. I believe our next call is tomorrow, and then county superintendent's meeting a week from Thursday. So I know we will have 2 touch-ins regarding this information in the next 8 days. Did I answer your question? Yes. Okay.
Thank you for that update.
Is there any other questions or comments?
Thank you for the update. I know this has been a trying time for everyone. Appreciate the diligence on behalf of our students.
Julian, I can't hear you.
You can't hear. No, I know it's been a trying time in the community and in the nations. Definitely appreciate the dedication of our administration and you, Mr. Shiro, on behalf of our students and advice and guidance of those medical professionals who have been, placed in the state and national levels.
And I'd like to echo Mr. Walker's comments. We're very grateful that the Health and that the Warren City Health Commission have been so cooperative with the district. They listen to us, we listen to them. It has truly been a partnership and a team, and are very, very grateful for that.
And I also wanted to say, when we're taught this, it could be something we could discuss at another Board of Education meeting. It could be something that hopefully the numbers, reach 0 and it would be a no-brainer decision. That would be fact. So, it's something that we're constantly watching, constantly monitoring. So stay tuned. But at this time, we're going to continue at least for a while longer.
Thank you. Any new business?
Mr. President,
Yes.
if I may, you skipped over me for legislative. Legislative?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank
That's
you.
okay. That's okay. And I just wanted to let the board know, and it ties in easily with the COVID, but substitute House Bill 51 was signed by Governor DeWine on the 11th of February, and that enables us to meet again through June 30th, 2022, if needed. So, if we get into a situation where there's another spike, in that, then we are permitted to do that.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you.
Treasurer's recommendation. Mrs. Doherty.
It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the January 2020 minutes be approved as submitted.
Second.
Would the treasurer call the roll?
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes?
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Motion
Mrs.
carries.
Lamperos.
Monthly financial statement. It is recommended the resolution listed regarding the January 2022 financial statement and short-term investments by the treasurer during January 2022, Exhibit A, pages 37, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Would the treasurer call the roll?
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mrs. Doherty?
Yes?
And Mr. Fowley?
Yes. Mr. Walker, 6, item 3.
Revised appropriation. It is recommended resolution listed below, revised appropriation A and B, be approved as submitted.
Isn't
Second.
Would the treasurer please call the roll?
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes, the motion carries. Mrs. Doherty, on page 7, item 4.
Approve the application, accept the grant appropriations. It is recommended the resolution listed below to approve the application, accept the grant, and approve the grant appropriation A be approved as submitted.
Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes?
Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Superintendent's recommendations on page 9. Mrs. Lamperos.
Agreements, contracts, and/or leases. Recommended the resolution listed below entering into agreements, contracts, and/or leasing through D be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Would the treasurer please call the roll?
Ms. Barrows?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
I abstain from item 1, section A. Otherwise, yes.
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes. The motion. On page 11, item 2. Mr. Walker.
2020 membership in the Ohio Athletic Association. It is recommended the resolution listed below authorizing 2021-2022 membership in the Ohio Athletic Association be approved as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Would the treasurer please call the roll?
Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes. Page 12, Mrs. Dorr, item 3.
Reorganization of the Northeast Ohio Management Information Network, Regional Council of Governments. It is recommended the resolution listed below approving the creation of the Northeast Ohio Management Information Network as a Regional Council of Government be submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Would the treasurer please call the roll?
Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Motion carries. Page
Can I
13.
ask a question on that?
Sure.
Just to be curious, we already voted on it, but will this result in the email changing throughout the school district? No.
Not necessarily. That's a local decision.
Okay.
13, item 4. I believe it's Mrs. Lamperos.
It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding field trip A through C approved as submitted. And these are all for our robotics team. And we have one in Chicago on April 6th through April the 10th. We have one in Rochester, New York, March 10th through March 13th. The one in Cleveland at the Wolstein Center on March 24th through March 26th. And to the team.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Would the treasurer please call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
With the hearty Go Robotics, both and Titanics, yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes. Motion carries. Page 15, item 5, Mr. Walker.
Ohio Department of Education certification for the Ohio Teachers Evaluation System and Principal Evaluation System. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the Ohio Education certification for credentialed Ohio Teachers Evaluation System and Principals Evaluation Evaluators be submitted.
Thank you. Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
And Mr. Fowley?
The motion carries. Page 16, acceptance of gifts, Mrs. Doherty.
Acceptance of gifts. It is recommended the resolution listed below, acceptance of gifts, be approved as submitted. There's AAPA,
AHEPA.
Uh,
AHEPA. Yep.
AHEPA,
I'm glad it was
to Willard PK through 8th school, winter clothing items, estimated value $2,500. Baird Brothers Sawmill to Fix Team, monetary donation valued at $250. Ari to the McGuffey Pantry, food items estimated at $100. Elizabeth Ann Seton Church to Willard PK through 8th school, winter clothing estimated at $525. And the WGH Keep to the Raider Pantry, donation valued at $1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Would the treasurer please call the roll?
Ms. B?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
yes, and
And
thank you.
Mr. Fowley?
The motion carries. Mrs. Lamperos on page 87.
Tuition reimbursement. It is recommended the resolution listed below, tuition reimbursement, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Would the treasurer please call the roll?
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes, and the motion carries. page 19, personnel, Mr. Walker.
Personnel recommendations. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding personnel items A through M be as submitted. And this goes all the way to page 33.
Classified retirement.
Yes, in this lengthy, we have a military leave. We wish to thank Zach Cower for his service once again. And we also have a retirement and a long-term resignation. Fatma, an educational assistant at Lincoln, and Billy Humphrey at Harding. We are very, very sad to see them both go and thank them for their service.
Yes.
Was there another retirement in this?
No, just the one classified.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
There a second?
Second.
Thank you. Would the treasurer please call the roll?
I abstain from section J, item 5 of the.
Okay, Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
And Mr. Fowley?
Yes, the motion carries. And there is no need for an extension at the end of the meeting.
And there was no participation?
There's
Okay.
no public participation. There have been no electronic additions to the board. So we thank you all, and the meeting is adjourned.
We need to first and second and call the roll.
I second
So
that.
I move for adjournment,
Move for adjournment.
Okay.
There's 3 seconds.
and there's a second.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
And Mr. Fowley?
Yes. And I apologize for running the express meeting tonight.